When You Wish Upon a Star, Chapter 9. Too soon, Kiara's last day in Pariva arrived. She lay in bed longer than usual, letting her head sink into the pillow she'd slept in every night since she could remember, and inhaling the faded warmth of the quilt her grandmother had sewn for her when she was born. Sunlight stung her eyes, and for the first time, it hurt. How could a heart feel so light and heavy at the same time? She couldn't separate one feeling from the other, the heavy sadness and the great hope. Clouds scattered the sky, and she smelled the possibility of rain. A typical September morning in Pariva. Except it wasn't at all. Kiara dressed and tiptoed down from the attic, careful to avoid the squeaky corners of the steps. She hesitated as she passed Illy's room. In the 2 weeks since Agata had last come, she and Illy had had an unspoken pact not to mention when she would have to leave for the trial. But that day had come. Kia's hand rose, her fingers closing to shape a fist. She wanted to knock on her sister's door, yet at the last second she withdrew. Best not to waken Illy. She was always grumpy in the morning. Downstairs, Niccolo was drinking coffee in the kitchen, and a smear of milky foam coated his thin mustache. Under his arm was his violin, and he strummed its strings idly until he saw her. "Saints and miracles," he said brightly. "Everyone's up before you." "Morning," echoed Kiara. A platter of yesterday's pastries awaited her on the table, bordered by a frame of fresh berries and apples. A far more sumptuous breakfast than they usually enjoyed. "Where are Mama and Pop?" "They left. Errands for the bakery." Kiara raised an eyebrow. "On a Sunday?" Everything was closed on Sundays. Niccolo shrugged and tugged the end of his mustache. His tell that he was lying. Kia didn't pursue the truth. She wasn't surprised her parents were up to something on her last day home. "You said Illy's awake?" "The other miracle of the morning. She's in the blue room warming up her voice, or, given the silence, just staring at herself in the mirror." Kia started, but Niccolo grabbed her sleeve and held out his violin. "Wait," he said. "Kia, I need some help. My G and A strings snapped this morning. Could you get me new ones?" "Don't you have extra strings? I could have sworn I bought you some last week." "I've misplaced them," Niccolo said abruptly. "I need new ones. The sooner the better. I have a chamber music rehearsal with Abramo for after lunch, and here, take my violin to Geppetto." "Won't you come with me?" Kiara asked as she carefully placed Nico's violin into its case. "It'd be a nice day to say hello to Geppetto." "Mama needs me to rake leaves from the yard," replied her brother. "The old oak across the street's starting to shed, and she's worried the leaves will fly over and smother her precious rose bushes. And Papa's basil. Why don't you ask Illy? Or don't. If she comes with you, he'll be so distracted he might accidentally saw my instrument in half." "Very funny," said Kia, though it wasn't that far-fetched a notion. Poor Geppetto was hopelessly infatuated with Ilaria. Whenever she visited, he always found some way to bring up Ilaria. He would say her name as if it were a song, taking extra time with each syllable. In spite of Kiara's urging, not once had Illy visited him. Maybe today she'd finally come. Ilaria was sitting at the harpsichord, warming up her voice with a series of hissing and grunting noises, then a stretch of verbalizing nonsense syllables. Every time she struck a chord on the harpsichord, she made a face. Their instrument was an old one, with 3 keys missing and dubious tuning in the highest notes. "When I'm famous, we'll have a real harpsichord," Illy liked to say. "A pianoforte, too, since that seems to be the future." This morning, she didn't complain about the harpsichord's condition. Instead, she cast Kia the barest of glances and said, "Don't you ever wear anything other than blue?" "It's your favorite color, just like yours is red." "I don't wear red every day." "Red is too ostentatious for daily wear," Kia quoted their mother. Illy smirked. "If that's Mama's reasoning, maybe I ought to wear it more. Who knows, maybe I'll offend the right people and get sent away from Pariva." Kiara gave her sister a stern look. Then she decided best to change the subject. "Niccolo needs me to get new strings for his violin." She paused. "Do you want to come along?" "To the luthiers?" Ilaria sequenced her warm-up a step higher. "You've never come with us to say hi to Geppetto." "He's your friend, not mine. Besides, he falls apart every time he looks at me." Ilaria scoffed. "He might break Niccolo's violin while he's at it." "Only because he likes you. You should give him a chance. He's far nicer than the other boys you—" Nice is what you say to describe a wallpaper color, not a boy. I'm yawning. Kia, it's a good thing you're not a salesperson. Now I've got to practice. My audition's next week. Illy resumed her scales, but when she'd reached her highest note, Kiara scooted next to her on the bench. You could use a friend while I'm away. A real friend, not like Simona and Beatrice. What's wrong with Simona and Beatrice? You know what I mean, said Kia. Let Geppetto be a friend. At least until I'm back. If you come back. Ilaria's fingers flattened against the harpsichord keys. 2 weeks went by faster than I thought it would. We didn't even get to go sailing again, or run through the fields like we said we would, or spend the day in Elf looking at dresses. Ilaria's voice trailed, and she reached behind the harpsichord to open the window. The smell of lemons flooded inside. It came from the tree just outside the blue room, and Kia inhaled, relishing yet another smell of her childhood. She paused, unsure how to answer her sister. Anyway, hurry up and get out of here, said Illy, pushing her aside. It's almost noon, and Mama and Papa want you out of the house. Why? Ilaria gave her a dull glare. I'm not going to be the one to ruin today. Just go. She rolled her eyes and uttered what she knew would make Kiara eager to leave. Tell Geppetto I said hello. That made Kiara smile. Will do. Kia hurried into the marketplace. All the shops were closed since it was Sunday, but she still savored the familiar sights of summer tomatoes on display, and sprigs of lavender for sale, and the smell of stinky cheeses drifting out of the market's cracked window. At the far end of the market, beyond the schoolhouse and a few more streets down, was Geppetto's workshop. Kiara slowed, mindful of every stone under her foot, every pigeon that flew over her head, and every tree that she passed. The shops were closed, but the townspeople descended into her almost as if they'd been waiting for her. There's our Kia. Shouldn't you be at home with your family? She raised her brother's violin. Niccolo sent me off on an errand. Inconsiderate of him, Mrs. Ritchie said. You're leaving to become a fairy tomorrow. There it was again, the wash of excitement and sadness. Kiara couldn't untangle the two. I'm leaving to apprentice under a fairy, she corrected gently. We don't know whether I become one on the end. I'd eat my rubber tree if you didn't, huffed Mrs. Ritchie. Mrs. Valmont appeared at her side and nodded fervently. You're the goodest girl I've ever known, Kiara. Everyone is going to miss you. We are so proud of you. There is nothing to be proud of, said Kiara. Honestly, More people are gathered around her. Don't be so humble, dear. Let yourself beam. Yes, be proud. We know so little about fairies and their mysterious ways. To think, the next one is our very own Kiara. Take this, said Mrs. Ritchie, tucking a generous sack of olives and chestnuts into her basket. A taste of Pariva will keep the homesickness at bay. You will think fondly of us and visit, won't you? There's plenty of wishes to be granted here, chimed in Mrs. Valmont's son. Kiara smiled, because she didn't know what to say. She reached for her money purse. Don't you even think about paying, exclaimed Mrs. Ritchie. It's our gift to you. Watch over our little town. I'll do my best, ma'am, said Kiara, meaning it. She made a small curtsy. Thank you for the olives and the chestnuts. Mrs. Ritchie was only the beginning. Everywhere she turned, townspeople stopped her, filling her basket with wares from their shops and gardens. I know what you did for my darling Julia, said Mr. Passell, stopping Kiara before the fountain in the town square. I know you meant to keep it a secret, but you've helped rekindle her love for painting. She's happy again. Art brings her joy, said Kiara simply. It was nothing. Mr. Passell nodded. What will we do without you, Kiara? So on it went for the next hour. Kia loved seeing her neighbors and friends, but she had a feeling they were trying to postpone her journey. The way Mrs. Vacky, carrying sacks of chocolates, hurried off in the opposite direction of her house, and Mrs. Valmont with a bushel of flowers, only added to her suspicion. Were Mama and Papa planning a party for her? That would explain Niccolo trying to get her out of the house. Illy, too. Testing her theory, Kia finally deviated from the market for the path around the square. The townspeople waved as she left, and when she turned back, they were all hurrying about their business. Definitely odd for Sunday. With a shrug, she continued down the hill toward the old part of Pariva. It was a longer path that went past the dodgier sections of town, but there was a road ahead that would cut straight back toward Geppetto's house. Well, well, if it isn't Pariva's very own little fairy, drawled a man loitering outside the Red Lobster Inn, the local tavern. She'd never seen him before. A tail of uneven gray hair curled behind his neck, and his words were slurred even though it wasn't quite noon. In his hands was a bottle of pungent ale, the sort of man Mamma called unsavory. He tipped his hat in her direction. "Good morning, Chiara Belmaggio." Chiara slowed. Were Ilaria here, she would have made some tart remark and nudged Kia to move along, but that tingly feeling in her heart bade her to be kind to everyone, even this unsavory-looking man. "Good morning," she responded. Encouraged by her greeting, the drunkard grinned at her. "Hear there's a party in your honor tonight. Am I invited?" "If there is, it's my parents' party," replied Chiara truthfully. "I don't know much about it." "A surprise party, then." The man covered his mouth with his hand. "I suppose I ruined the surprise. Dear me." "It's all right, I've already—" "You'll be granting wishes as a fairy," interrupted the man, looking up from his hat. His bloodshot eyes were fixed on her. "Won't you?" To the brave, the unselfish, and the truthful," she replied, quoting what the Violet Fairy had told her. "If you have such qualities, your wish upon a wishing star will be heard." "Oh, you'd best hear my wishes, little Chiara, or I'll be paying your family a visit." He flashed a sight of bright white teeth. "That pretty sister of yours especially." Chiara tensed all over. "It'd be wise not to threaten my family," she warned. "What will you do, turn me into a toad?" "If you deserve it," she said. He snickered. "You don't have it in you." She wouldn't be cowed, and she gave him her most dauntless stare, holding it for a good measure before turning on her heel. The man simply laughed and laughed, the sound bubbling in her ears as she hurried in the opposite direction. All of her trembled, and she crossed her arms over her body and held herself still. It should have come as no surprise that there would be people who would try to take advantage of her. But to have a complete stranger threaten her and her family left her unsettled. "It won't scare me away," she thought, easing away the fear icing her heart. "The world's not a perfect place, and if I become a fairy, I'll have the chance to make it better." She picked up her nerve and continued on her way, trying to focus on how good it'll be to see Geppetto.